All
All
right.
right.
All right. Exciting night. Welcome, YouTubers, for the start of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys Extra. Tonight we have Marcus. It's just so cool to have you here. Welcome.
Welcome, Marcus.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. Yeah, man.
I'm
get a little bourbony with y'all, man.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Tiny. This is Xavier, and we're super pumped because what you do with the mix of putting your music with the whiskey, and then you have the whiskey story to go with it, and then you have your story, your own story of how you got here. That's just a really cool thing. And when we were talking, I believe yesterday, or the day before, when we were talking on the phone, you had a really cool story about what made you, and what your understanding of your music and your fans, and what they're drinking, and how you kind of came to that it was really kind of cool. Do you want to elaborate on that? Because I thought that was super.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where it was like I got hit. I felt like I got punched in the face from like 5 different spots at the same time, right? Where it was one of those where and this was actually during the same time. So let me start at the beginning, right? Because that part is sort of like the 20% in. I was in college, trying to just struggle to pay for college tuition rising and books. I was so shocked that books were $400, $500 a piece.
Isn't that unbelievable? Gosh,
crazy. And so I'm a musician as well. So in that time, I had a whole like recording studio set up in my dorm. Ended up putting a mixtape out. This is at Iowa State up in Ames, Iowa. And so I sold like 8,000 or 9,000 copies in maybe like a 6-month period.
Wow.
And so I ended up having a little bit more than tuition money, right?
Yeah.
And so my next thought was, still wasn't even thinking about liquor. I was just like, yo, I could really make a living off of music. Started pressing up, so you can see this hat. Started pressing up my own merchandise. Started doing, all that. So I ended up riding through this town called Carroll. In Carroll, Iowa, is random. I was trying to sell my hats. I was failing. Met this lady at the bar. She's having just as shit a day as I am. And she's like, yo, I'm thinking we're just drunk having a conversation at the bar. She starts telling me about her family and how her grandma and grandpa used to run whiskey for mobs. And they used to have multiple still sites set up along the river and cooking in caves. And I'm thinking we're just two drunk shits just at the bar. Just, you know what I'm saying? I ain't sold no merch today. You drunk, obviously. She's like, yo, but I got some in my car. You could try some. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I go to her car, sip it. It's the smoothest, most vanilla bottle of something I'd ever tasted.
Oh, wow.
So I'm intrigued. Keep in mind, I don't even drink. I'm just literally, I'm having beers at the bar. I don't really even drink hard liquor because it's too hard. I didn't really mess with it at the time. Go to her, follow her to her house. Her husband comes out. This is where it gets crazy. So they blindfold me. So we end up getting on the back of this 4-wheeler. Now, can y'all imagine my black ass out in the middle of Iowa?
If somebody I just met is blindfolded me and take me into a field, I'm saying my prayers because it sounds like I'm going to get whacked.
Listen. So I'm on the back of this 4-wheeler, right? And so like we're riding for maybe 15 minutes. We get this like corn and fields. I mean, it's wild. We get to this spot where it's like an opening. There's in the ground, and this is all allegedly. I don't know if this actually has happened or any of this is real or actually.
You hallucinated it, and this is the way you think it might have happened.
I was already drunk, so there's no telling. I just went home.
Right. Okay, so this could have been a dream.
There's trailers and these things like buried under the ground like bunkers. Walk down into the bunker. There's pictures with Al Capone. There's old barrels. There's receipts to Alcatraz. There's the whole nine. That's when I discovered the history of Iowa in the production of the mob's alcohol and shipping that to Kansas City and shipping that to Chicago and shipping that to Iowa City. And being actually where all that mob liquor came from And then just even understanding the history of that area. And so I had a bunch of extra cash. I was like, fuck it, let's make a real investment. And bottled up my first line, started pumping out my first moonshine, and that was this, my Zayed White Rod. This right here is damn near impossible to find on shelves now. Like, starting this brand, I started in a couple stores, but like you were talking about with the venue, I sat on that recipe for like 3 or 4 months. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know. It was like, yo, now what do I do? Go get a license? What do I go open? What do I do? Do I go buy some stills? What do I do? I know how to cook it. I've been learning how to cook it, but like, what do I actually do to make this a thing? I threw a show at a local venue. I got booked for maybe like 3,500. You're kicking it, throwing a party in the back. You know, it's everything. I happened to go and ask what the bar hits. The bar hit like 25,000 in profit. So I'm like, wait a second. So then I asked the bartenders and the people managing, like, well, what are they drinking? They said whiskey. And I said to myself, well, damn, let me take my time. And so that led me to my product that kind of blew me up, which was Burn the Boats, which was the album whiskey combination. Just centralizing everything where that fan base, I just looked at it like, yo, if I can sell 8,000 CDs on the campus, CDs in the 2000s, if I can pull people to a show and they're willing to spend 50, 60 bucks on liquor after spending 20 to see me, let me just centralize that. What if I can get those 8,000 people to go buy a bottle at 30, 40 bucks?
Right.
And so that became the business model. And it worked. We're in 8 states, 500 stores. We ship nationwide.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Not to go on a long-winded, but yeah, I mean, it was
not at all. That was had us on the edge of our seats. That's amazing. I really, being a history buff, I like your choices of the names of your alcohol from Zayed. You know, you're talking a 8th century Umayyad general, and Burn the Boats, which was, you know, Cortez, how he motivated his men when they got to the New World. So it's like you're out to conquer, and that's a real. There's a lot of power there.
It's so beautiful that you knew the history without me even having to like go deep into it. No, that's the exact. And I'm a weirdo, like, as I'm an artist too. You know what I'm saying? So and that comes out even in the spirits. I literally look at myself like, yo, I'm the reincarnation of General Zayed. Like, he was born a slave, bought his freedom, ended up taking over much of Spain. Like, and that's how I looked at me in the liquor market. Is like, yo, I'm not supposed to be here. Probably not what you regard to, you know what I mean, be a master distiller, but I'm here. We're gonna burn the boats.
Yep.
That is what.
Yeah, so, you're Zayed and Cortez all rolled into one,
wrapped into one artistic Iowa dude.
Yeah, you know, and you're conquering 2 genres and blending them. You have 2 art forms, distilling and your music, of course.
But he's conquering that other art form, which is distilling in Iowa.
Well,
and I mean,
and the art form of bringing it to market, for God's sakes.
Yeah, no, it's dope because it's like one of the things I found even in the process of, like, even in making small batches when I was learning how to just work. When I first started, I was working on like a 20-gallon still, just learning how to just, you know, hone it in, little thumper. It's the same process as making music. You're taking a mash, same way you take a mash, you take life, and you gather it all into a drum and you distill it. You know what I'm saying? You pull out the purest spirit of it. And so the process of making music and making good moonshine and making good whiskey and bourbons was the same. And it would just seem like a perfect fit, especially even finding out like, yo, the vibrations of music can change the flavor nodes of a whiskey.
Right.
I mean, it's like, yo, you can drink my passion as an artist. And it's like, I don't know, it's just the perfect fit.
You know, there's 2 things that will elicit or invoke time travel. One is the flavor of a food or drink. The other is the sound of a song, you know, and those will take you and put you from wherever you're at back to where you were when you first heard that song and what you were doing, what stage of your life and everything. So I think it's a brilliant business model.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, let's get on with I think that was an excellent YouTube.
Oh, I want to hear more, but
Yeah.
we'll save it for the podcast.
Yeah, we'll
here.
get it on to the podcast. We might have to do the review of this of how you started out for the podcast, but so we'll just get on with it right now. I am going to start recording. Dant Crossing, Gethsemane, Kentucky. Timeless hospitality that stirs the spirit. Dant Crossing is a one-of-a-kind destination for unforgettable weddings, memorable corporate events, day trips, and weekend getaways. The pastoral campus is anchored by Logstill Distillery and includes an amphitheater that seats 2,000, a 12-acre lake for fishing and unique lodging options, creating an immersive experience that's rooted in the community and culture of our little slice of Kentucky. More attractions will open soon at Dant Crossing, including our 21,000 square foot distillery, which we will have the ability to produce 15,000 barrels of spirit each year, a network of wooded walking trails, fully functional private train depot, farm-to-table restaurant, and the Legacy, a premier wedding and events venue. Whether you're looking to host an event, book a stay, or reserve a tasting, we're ready to welcome you. Learn more at dantcrossing.com.
Spirits of French Lick is proud to introduce the Maddie Gladden Bottled and Bond Bourbon. This 4-year aged bourbon is double pot distilled and non-chill filtered and has a full-bodied mouthfeel with eucalyptus, molasses, clove, ginger, and slight citrus as well as grains of paradise. The finish is long and reappearing on the back of the tongue with notes of pepper, tobacco leaf, and mint green. All of our spirits are available for tasting and purchase inside the French Lick Winery and Distillery. Spirits of French Lick, respect the grain, please enjoy responsibly, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
Woo! All right, way to start out.
Here we are.
Welcome to the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Tonight is a special night, but remember, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Check us out. We got Glencairns, we got t-shirts, we got tastings. Just go to the website, check us out, check out all the information. And remember, we're on all podcast formats. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, and I'm forgetting one, but Twitter.
Twitter, of course.
Check us out there. But tonight we got a really special guest, a very unique person in the distilling, whiskey, and music industry. We have Marcus here. No, it's your last name is Ashworth, right? No,
Ashworth. Yep.
Yes. Okay.
And
good.
and some people for the Iowa folks listening, it's Markaus. So it's
Markaus. Okay. What do you prefer to be addressed as?
Markaus.
Markaus either is fine. You know.
No problem. Well,
Markaus, man.
We'll be Iowans tonight and refer to you as Markaus.
There you go. Gotcha.
So it's just, we were just talking on YouTube, and it was, your story is so unique. And when I was listening to it, there's so many different aspects that you put together. But when we were talking just before, the aspect of being a Black distiller in this industry, which is, what would you say, rare, right?
Yeah.
But you're hitting at such a perfect time, because it was rare for women just a couple of years to be master distillers and distillers, and that's pretty much gone away. And the one thing that I've always felt in the whiskey industry since I've been a part of it is that that's one thing that whiskey does, ryes, bourbons, when you share a spirit with somebody, it kind of makes the world's problem kind of go away, and everybody, it just puts it at a real level where people are just mostly everybody I've met in this industry. I'm not saying it's perfect. There's by no means,
it's common ground for most folks. That's for sure.
I mean, you could take political adversaries, you could take any kind, and if you could get them in that room having a bourbon or having a whiskey, it usually can solve 99% of the problem, right?
No, you hit it right on the head. That was actually one of my fears even coming into the industry, is like, yo, I've got everything set up, I've bought bottles, I've got totes of my product, this moonshine, ready to go. But how are they going to perceive me in this industry, just like other distillers and the grocery stores? And you're right. It's been total love. Like when I go to visit another distiller in the state and I got a jar of my stuff and I'm like, hey, try this. Let me know what you think. Those mutual sips, those, hey, I brought a bottle of something that I have barreled up for a couple of years. Test it out. Let me see what you think. Those conversations, I've experienced so much love since being in this. It's a small, and y'all know this distillers world is a small circle. I've experienced so much love and support, and it's beautiful. It's been beautiful.
That's not surprising. We were talking with Lisa Roper Wicker the other night of Widow Jane, and one of the things we all agreed on is, we've all in our experience. I have no distilling experience, but just my professional experience and whatnot. I've worked in a lot of different industries, and so has Tiny here, and so has Lisa. And we all agreed that we have yet to meet the first nasty, surly person in the distilling industry. Everybody is friendly, they're generous with their time, they're helpful, and they really are, they really want to know about you, and I've not ever encountered that in any other industry.
It's similar, especially coming from the dealing in the music industry versus the distillation world, where it's like music industry is the complete opposite, where it's like hostile every single step of the way versus it's been dope to marry the two for sure.
Right. And like you said, the music industry has that network that's set up that just because you work hard, you also have to, there's a game to play, where I really think the whiskey industry is why the people that are in it and the people you get together, it's usually because they have, like, your work ethic is just insane. You know what I mean? And the work ethic that's in the industry and the people that are doing it, there's money to be made, but it's not just like massive amounts of money where everybody's, whatever, but the work ethic to put out a good product is just always so consistent. And it's one thing that I find, when I'm dealing with people like yourself, and then the stories. It's just always the stories are so good.
And that's a great segue for I don't want to pick up where we were. I want to even go back a little bit further.
Sure.
Tell us about your music. What got you into the music? Are you a vocalist? Do you play an instrument, or both, or just tell us about that and what got you in the music industry?
That's really dope you asked that. So of course I've been, my dad put me on the music. My dad was a musician, played piano, a bunch of stuff. And it's dope you asked. I'm actually a classically trained musician. I've been in chamber choirs. I play the saxophone, the flute, learning how to play the guitar. I produce, mix, master, engineer, complete, full bands, the whole thing. It's one of those things. What really I think sparked it, like going to school, because I'm not actually from Iowa. I went to high school and whatnot in Atlanta, and I was running around freestyling and battling. Before I made songs, I was a battle rapper, and I was just battling for like Walmart cards. I was a poor, hungry kid, you know what I mean, and trying to figure out like local guys local guys in Atlanta would have like 14 to 15-year-olds like battle, and you win and get like $100. You know what I'm saying? Local guys that had money from things,
which was everything.
So yeah,
it was everything.
And so moved, and so it was sad. This is not mean the sad story, but like the only reason I'm actually in Iowa. So we moved to Iowa originally. My dad had cancer, and we were trying to get him in Iowa has some of the best cancer treatment centers in America. And we were actually trying to get him in a cancer treatment center up here, and then he passed like a month after we moved here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so it was like senior year of high school, like 2 months in, and I'm like, well, fuck. So I just go to college here, and then this whole realm of things just kind of kicked off like a snowball, So, but now music, I had success in music before I bottled anything. So paid bills with it. So
yeah, very good. That's an awesome story. So now you're in college, and you said Iowa State, I believe.
Yeah, ISU,
okay.
Cyclones.
And are you studying music, or are you studying, other subjects?
So I was pre-law.
Okay.
I was a marketing and sociology dual major.
Okay.
That actually worked in the long term, understanding people and understanding how to market.
Sure.
To people.
Oh, yeah.
It actually
really
fit.
Yeah.
You think?
It really pays more benefits than you thought it would at the time. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I joined the fraternity, was running around, and that's actually allegedly where I got to test out some of my initial batches of the moonshine was in the Greek world at ISU. That's as the story is told. I can't.
Yeah. That's in your perfect world. That's how it would have gone. But
that would have been a great.
We don't know what really happened.
Be able to tell you guys. If
that exactly.
Yeah.
It's not that now. If you Freddie know, and Fred know, but Freddie know actually when he went to Kentucky, I think at KSU. He did the same thing. He
allegedly did the same.
Yeah,
thing.
allegedly. I mean, we've had a bunch of master distillers that allegedly did the same thing.
You got to figure it out allegedly how it goes. And
well, yeah,
those are my times, and
yeah,
even figuring out like how to do different grains and like let me make a Captain Crunch mash this week, or or let's do a. Just doing silly things, testing them out.
Yeah. But so you're in college, you're making music, and you're successful at it. You're selling music, you're doing mixes, and just doing wherever shows, you can find a niche, you're doing it. And then all of a sudden, what happens? You're with
so all of a sudden, I'm trying to get this merch off, thinking I'm like the next Diddy, like I'm gonna have my own like Sean John type of thing or something, like and end up meeting a lady at a bar whose family just so happened to bootleg liquor for mobs. I mean, when I say it's random, like it was just really interesting. It was just really.
It was in this dream you met this lady that supposedly,
allegedly,
yeah.
But
nothing's that.
Yeah, in this alleged dream, I was able to see proof of production of spirits for crime families and pictures and receipts and old barrels and preserved yeast and all different types of things that I dreamt of. It was beautiful.
Now, in this dream, was it this family's own recipe, or was it allegedly Al Capone's recipe, or is it one and the same?
And that's an interesting question. Allegedly, there's multiple recipes, right? So there were things that make it, some individuals may have wanted 100 gallons specifically for those individuals to have. Then there might be a 500-gallon order for the masses. There's different, depending on if there's a bottle being shipped to Alcatraz, that might be a more tuned in 10-gallon run of a mixture of things. Because you got to keep in mind, Carroll at that time and in the entirety of central Iowa, there was actually like a mini war that was happening here with the ATF and the farmers. There was more, if you look at it, there was more sugar shipped to central Iowa than the rest of the nation for like a 5-year period. And when people started picking up, like, why is more sugar going in this town?
What are they doing with all this sugar?
Yeah.
Well, they're not
Like,
baking
what's going
Toll
on?
House cookies.
Yeah, I mean, and the history of it, like, there's places right now I could, and this is in college where I was, discovering those places. There's places I could take you where there's grave sites that aren't grave sites, where you pop out the sides and bottles slide out. Where I could take you to,
Wow.
I could take you to spots where, you think it's a old decrepit building, and then there's so many creative ways that these people got to actually allegedly move and just transport. And I think one of the interesting things about the history of Iowa, even with prohibition, is that it didn't stop. We can trace these stories up onto people that are fans of Sons of Anarchy and that whole energy. I can tell you a story, man. Like, Iowa is one of those places where this production has thrived. So much farmland.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, think about also the aspect of, you got Kentucky right now on fire. Then you've got Colorado, Texas, and all of them are in Indiana. And they're all pulling that distilling history out and telling the stories through the modern distillers, right? Yeah. So, but when you think about it, I've been doing this for a while, and you're the first person where you're doing this in Iowa. So it's almost as if the veil of Iowa of being, what would you say? They're just trying to stay low key because of exactly what you said. They're happy during Prohibition, they weren't famous either for it. I mean, it's not like the rest of the country knew what was going on in Iowa. They knew it was going on in Kentucky. They knew it was going on, in different parts of the country, New York and everything. But really, you don't have too many TV shows about what the hell was going on in Iowa, right?
Yep. So now you've been allegedly shown and you tasted this magnificent alcohol. Then what happens? What allegedly happened next?
So allegedly there was a cash payment to make sure that respect was shown to those that had come before me. And then there was a rigorous Mr. Miyagi training regimen that went in of
wax
to
work, wax off,
wax on, wax off, how to source good grains, how to mash in at the right temperatures, how to do a strip and run, and how to load your thumper properly, how to shoot the thump, how to properly make a fine spirit. And then the second phase of that, and this was what really made it business viable, because a lot of people know how to distill and work a 20-gallon still and grab a bunch of fruit, but try to upscale that to do something, and you'll see what those cost margins are like. Was how to make a quality fine rye spirit in mass. And those were the things that was the second phase of it. I mean, so immediately I went into working a 20-gallon still. All right, grind up these. I mean, literally to the point where it's like, all right, let's take this to the mill, and you pick you got your grains out. Let's now grind them. You pick how fine you want these ground. Like figuring out how to hands-on cook and some of this stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm still. This is a lifelong, every day, every time, every batch I get better.
You're constantly learning. If you don't learn, you plateau, and then you eventually start going downhill.
And so even now with at that point, I was so heavily reliant on thermometers and shit, but now learning how to feel the vape, little things you learn on the small scale that.
Like anything, it's like at first you're learning and you're doing stuff, and then there's certain things you got to watch out for that you're watching out. But after you do it for a while and you do it in a daily kind of thing, all of a sudden it becomes second nature, and you start to smell and taste, and you can kind of know what's going on. Now, so there's a part where you allegedly did the respect payment, and then the training started. So was the person training you like when you think about you were at the bar and then they brought you there. Were they the ones was their vision to train you? Was it their idea? Because you're, where you were, they grabbed you basically and kidnapped you.
Yeah.
And then there was, and then they just knew something that this was the person they wanted to show. And then you just were the right person.
It was sort of that. It was one of those things where it was the discovery on both ends that this was probably the perfect situation. I think from their end, they understood the hustle, and I think a lot of them were just blown away that I would even try to be in. Sorry about that. That I would even try to be in Carroll, Iowa, trying to sell hats and T-shirts from a mixtape that I dropped 50 miles away. I think just the recognition of that level of hustle, and that's the thing that even in this like moonshine making thing is like these families that were making this moonshine, they weren't criminals, they weren't mobsters with guns. These were families that were trying to figure out extra ways to generate income and survive. And so when we started just having this basic conversations about, what really drove it home, to be real, they started telling stories about the rye, and like we got really deep into like where deliveries were made, because I'm originally from Kansas City. When we discovered that some of those original shipments of moonshine were dropped at jazz clubs and speakeasies and bars that my grandmother and grandparents were kicking it at.
Wow.
Where it's like, wait a second. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep in mind, I got the musicianship in my family, and some of that, like, when you start looking at like some of that white that was sold in the streets of Kansas City, that was that. And for me to be able to, that was one of the driving things. Like, we've been doing business together in a different life already.
That's a real synergy there, or a synchronicity, I guess, of how that comes together. You happen to have this conversation, you end up there, then it's full circle. It's like, wait a minute, I've got a connection to this long ago. Here it is. That's destiny, I think.
Goosebumps. It was goosebumps moment for real.
Duke Ellington, that Cotton Club, that's that whole time period. And there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Chicken cock whiskey,
all like that. Hearing about shipments of white Rob being shipped to Vaughn Street in Kansas City, and then comparing those stories where it's like, I don't know, it was, totally. And so to discover that, man, somebody's already tried to make a vibe out of this exact same spirit. I gotta revitalize it, bring it back. I mean, it was like reclaiming two sets of histories at once, and literally just like putting them on the forefront together, putting them on stage together. So
that's actually amazing. That's really cool.
It's just a fantastic story.
Plus
a legend story.
Alleged.
Well, and just my little bit of time with you, you have a certain dynamic to yourself, that you've and it's so diverse. I mean, you're talking music, you're talking whiskey, you're talking your family roots, the whole thing, and that's fantastic, and I can't wait to taste it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I sent man, and that's my bad. I was supposed to get a bottle out to you. Well, it's on the way though. I was a little.
That's all right.
When we get it, we will do a podcast on it, just dedicated to that. And if you could join us again, that would be great. If you can't, we'll cover for you, but we'll make sure that people hear about it and hear our opinions.
Man, I'll absolutely come back. What's fly is I want to come back and talk to y'all again, especially I was just on I can't go into detail crazy about it, but I just competed on a show on Discovery Channel called Moonshiners, Master Distillers.
Oh man. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I did the call for, people to come up, and which you answered, I think everybody who's on that show answered that call. I think I've got 4 people on the show, and you were the 5th that are booked to come on to the show. So yeah, that's fantastic. Small world. And that's the thing is like, so I would love to come back and share with y'all, even talk about that experience. And totally. We can get, when we have the whiskey in front of us and now we know the background, we can give everybody the Reader's Digest condensed version of the background who may not have watched this, and then get into the meat of the whiskey and what produced it, what were its motivations, what your goals were
with this particular expression, so on and so forth. So that's kind of good, actually. We can concentrate on what most people want to hear. That's going to make the decision, do I want to buy this stuff?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Plus, if the unique aspect, we didn't even cover it. It's like if you buy a bottle of Burn the Boats, it comes with you can even get concert tickets, and it comes with concert tickets. It comes with a couple different songs, and and that
is really cool.
That the fact, it's one thing to have that on there, but it's another thing to have the distiller is the one that's making the music and doing the performing. So it's like Bob Dylan's brand. Think about that. It's just the same thing. His music, but it's not quite the same because that's his brand and whatever. But he's tasting, but he's not actually distilling. He's purchasing.
Yeah.
Now
go ahead.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, because I forgot to ask you before, is where are you aging? Are you aging close to yourself? Where you put it in the barrels, you're aging. Is that just around where you are?
And that's a part of what in this coming year is like, setting up a space where it's all in one: tasting room, production, storage. Right now it's a bit of, and that's a part of, so the negative to being in a prohibition driven state is the laws that now govern that. But right now I produce in one site, store at another site, and bottle at another site. So it's a little bit of a chain of things, and I can kind of tease at it now. The city of Des Moines, there's actually no distilleries in the city of Des Moines proper. And so that's a part of what this buildup is to be able to open Des Moines' first distillery and to be able to house all of those things in one place. So, we can really chip away at the market.
So you're kind of horizontally integrated right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I wanted to keep, it's one of those things, of course, I could have set up a production site closer to Des Moines, but I wanted to keep being able to source, because I source directly from the farmers in that area. Like I want the rye and all that to be native to what flavor profiles and the whole nine. And so, and a part of that is just, it took a little bit and y'all know how expensive the distilling world is. And so like, even coming in the game with that 100,000, thinking that allegedly I didn't know, because allegedly I had 100,000 coming in the game with that was enough to get going and launch and get going, but that's not enough for a tasting room.
Well, boy, you better be turning yourself inside out if you want to keep it, though.
And just keep meeting the right people. But when you get your tasting room and where you're aging, the rick house aspect and everything, and it's all, are you gonna play your music constantly as you age your bourbon?
Yeah, and we actually experimented with that as a partially with Burn the Boats. Was like, yo, it's 6 months left. This album is about done. Let's start pumping music through it. Let's start seeing if the music. I want the bourbon and my whiskey to taste like the music it was made for. And so like, like even the album I'm recording right now, I'm recording it in a way where it complements the flavor notes of what's aging. You know what I mean? So they go hand in hand. That's the business model, bro. Let me tell you how weird I am with it. My guitarist, my bass player, my drummer, I'm teaching them the art of distillation too. I'm teaching all the artists on my label the art of distillation.
Wow.
So that we can all, so it's like, yo, come in to the distillery. We'll bottle up your shit. We'll pump your music through it. So now the artists on my label, the only way they're going to release music is through this way too. We're, as a business model, even from a music standpoint, cutting out the middleman. Like, yo, I got to make, you know how many streams I have to make $4,000 from Spotify? That's a million streams. Yeah.
And I'm with the podcast. I understand all how this works. They are not, what would you say? They're not kind to you, but once you reach that level that you're reaching, that's when it all starts to, where you become part of what they're promoting. and I think you've got something cool as fuck going. I mean, that's the only way to say it. And
Thank you.
You got, but also it's not just a gimmick to sell it. You're backing it with all the stuff you need to back it with the work ethic, with the paying attention to history and understanding that. And because you're a musician, you understand that also. So, I mean, it's just, when you replied, I was just, initially I looked you up and I was just like, well, that would be unique. That's definite.
Tell us for those of our listeners and viewers that have not been to your website or any website that covers your life story, tell us about your musical genre. What kind of music are you doing?
Yeah, so my music is more of like, I don't know, and depending on what y'all's listeners and people, I've been described as like Rage Against the Machine meets Nas. So I perform with a live band. And so my live performances feel much more like a heavy metal show. Like I'm shirt off, bottles of whiskey live. Like it's a heavy metal concert essentially.
Nice.
So I try to provide two different experiences. So like even with like I have a part of the thing that my label does is we have a like a 1938 Presto vinyl cutter, so we can make our own vinyl records by hand. And so like making music that's more of like, so digitally it's more of like a lo-fi type of sound, just so that it can fit more into that lo-fi press of a actual. We thought it'd be fly to have some, to sell vinyls along with the, you know what I'm saying? Just to
Oh
give it
my
that
God,
cool.
that's
So like right now, for instance, like you can even see on our Instagram, the Xavier Instagram, where we had Burn the Boats. You could get it as a vinyl too, a 12-inch vinyl, and just experience the whole thing. But yeah,
neat. Well, I'll tell you what. There's one thing I can sort of relate to, like maybe 1/10,000,000th of a relation to what you do. I am not very musically inclined, or I wasn't. But I was one of those guys that when I was in high school, I always wanted to learn how to play guitar, and I never did. Then life got in the way, secondary education, wife, kids, just a few career changes. We won't say how many, that sort of thing. And I kind of shoved it away. Well, after my kids were young men and everything, this was like about 9 years ago, I said, damn it, I'm either going to do it now or I'm not going to do it. And I bought myself an acoustic guitar. And why I bought an acoustic guitar is I work in IT. I work with electronics. I work with that stuff all the time. I wanted something where I didn't have to think about that. I wanted to, and also I was like training my ear and training what little bit of a voice that I have. And it's not much, and I'm not being modest. It's really not much. I wanted to hear the pure sound. So less than a year later, I was actually, I did get to play out in front of public. We're not talking a huge crowd. We're talking about 75 people. But okay. I played at a wedding where some of the people I knew, but a lot of people I didn't. And we did one of my only song that I do that is not a lying, drinking, cheating song that really actually lent itself to a wedding. And you're kind of the steam engine on the train. I was playing rhythm guitar, singing lead.
Okay.
Let me tell you, what's that?
Yeah, he was saying okay.
No. I thought you said okay. I thought you. But it really taught me. My God, when you're doing that, and that's just one little song. Wasn't a song that I wrote. I had professional musicians behind me. One of my best buddies is a professional musician. I had some help from him. I was pretty much self-taught to get going, but he filed down the rough edges. And but when you're standing up there and you're going to do that, there's just zero room. It's pretty much when I can only guess when you're getting ready to, you're gonna dump that barrel into bottles. It's the same thing. There's no room for screwing up. Period. This has got to be it. It's got to be your best, and it's going to be what people judge you by. So in that very small aspect of it, I can kind of sort of maybe allegedly relate to what you're
doing. Dope. Okay. Yeah. No, it's similar. You hit a spot on the head. That's yeah. Man.
Well,
yeah.
You're unique. It's like you decided to do it with two things at once. your music and the whiskey. So when you put the music on the bottle and you're putting the whiskey out there,
that kicks ass. And
you're
takes
doing
names.
something
That's really good.
that's a double risk. But you know, I was listening to some of your music, and definitely it has a flow. That's all I can say. There's a flow to it. You can tell you're doing music with purpose. Put it that way.
I have not listened to it yet. Before 24 hours ago, I hadn't even heard of you. I'm sorry, but I'm just being honest. But I'm going to listen to your music here. Before the next time we talk again, I will have listened to some of your work, guaranteed.
Perfect. I'm gonna have a bottle out to y'all soon enough, so y'all can.
Oh man, that's gonna be great. And I'll tell you what. Iowa's not that bad of a drive. We're talking what? Oh yeah, 9 hours, 10 hours?
No,
not even that.
No,
man, I could show you all the time. Y'all came to Iowa.
Yeah, we like to come out and now. Yeah, we don't want to go to the underground bunkers where we might not. Get out alive.
No, speak for your freaking self.
Allegedly,
I'll leave him behind. Okay, I'll leave him behind. Yeah,
100%. But yeah, that would be cool. That would just be totally awesome. Cool.
Man, say when. We love to have y'all out of here. We love to take y'all on a tour and let y'all meet all the other distillers out here too. It's a tight knit community, but we all rock together. So
yeah. And if you decide to break into the outlaw country genre and you need a really bad acoustic rhythm guitarist, maybe I could join you on a studio session, you know.
Man, I'll keep you in mind.
Right. Don't do it on a bad day because it might just throw you over the edge.
So you have the Zyad White Rye, which is pretty much like you said, it's tough to find now and then you've got Burn the Boats, and now you have a bourbon coming out, correct?
Yeah, so we did a test run of a bourbon, maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago with a local chain. And now we're gearing up to put that through the system as well, through the Hy-Vee system and Fairway systems. Shouts to Hy-Vee and Fairway. They love, I love y'all, you know. So, yeah, putting out. So it's called Silk Road Bourbon. So on my other day job is actually I'm a real estate developer as well.
Because you don't want your blood pressure to get too low. Yeah,
exactly. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting too comfortable. Or,
right.
How old are you?
A part of that, I'm building a 4-story development in Des Moines. It's about a $12 million build, about 40 apartments, about 14,000 square foot of retail space, and 5,000 square foot of that is actually a Black and Brown business incubator, just to try to create more me's in this market, you know. And so the proceeds from that Silk Road bourbon, hence the name Silk Road, like a Silk Road of prosperity. A part of those proceeds go towards incubating those other Black and Brown businesses. And so just trying to make sure that everything I do has my mantra as a person is conscious capital. Like, let's make money, but let's make an impact as well. Like, let's see if we can do those things at the same time. And so, yeah, wow. Just trying to everything I do, I wanted to be a disruptor of some sort. So like, yeah, if y'all could imagine what some of those label conversations were like when I was getting label offers dealing with Burn the Boats, where it's like, those numbers got to look different now that I'm on shelves versus
I love your sense of history. You know, you have Burn the Boats, which we talked, that's a reference to when Cortez landed in the New World. That's how he motivated his crew to survive and to exist as they burnt their boats. There was no turning back. Zyad was an Umayyad or North African general, and he wasn't always a general. He was a born slave. And he was part of the group of that I know the European name for it, and it's probably incorrect, was Moors.
No, that's correct. That right. Is correct.
Moors conquers into Spain, or Hispania as it was called at the time. And then Silk Road, that's the avenue east to India and the spices, and then on to China for silk. So everything that you do has a theme or a synergy with success and conquest. And that, man, that's like the perfect mindset to have.
I'm definitely a history nerd on the low. I try to hide it from all my fans so they don't think I'm like too lame. But I'm definitely I think there's just massive lessons we can learn from some of those times, and especially different time periods, like even studying like Mansa Musa and the entire energy behind creating a path like that. Silk Road, and then trying to expand. So like even with this Master Distiller show coming out, I'm going to put out the barrel proof version of Burn the Boats, like the Master Distillers edition, with a handful of extra tracks and music videos, like the definitive edition of an album. The same way with this, where there's only maybe 800 bottles total, at a much higher price retail. But I try to totally. And I'm sitting here drinking my own shit.
What are you drinking? What are you drinking tonight?
So this is actually from a local distiller in town, dinner distillery, called Copper Cross.
Okay.
Like I said, I mean, it's all love in the state of Iowa. We all support each other. We all love each other. Shouts to everybody in the game. Let me shout out all the distilleries in Des Moines, actually, around town. Shouts to the Foundry, shouts to Red Boot, shouts to Dinner, shouts to everybody. So yeah, Mississippi Road, Cedar Ridge. It's a very small community, but we all stick together. And I would compare Iowa spirits to anywhere in the nation. Our history is second to none in terms of whiskey production and moonshine and prohibition era stuff. So they
just need the
fact that you're maintaining, I don't even know if this is a word, you're maintaining a historicity with what you're doing. You're holding true to all of that and propelling it into the 21st century here.
Well, the greatest thing about the whiskey industry that I've found so far is one of the reasons why all the distillers stay together and they all talk and they're friends and they're basically unique. They help each other out. I mean, it happens everywhere. You see it all around. But one of the reasons is that no matter how much you all try and make, you're never going to be able to make enough. And that business model is what drives the industry to make it so great, because there's so many you can make enough shoes, you can make enough shirts and t-shirts, and there's competition which causes that competition causes animosity between companies, and there's just that competition that all of a sudden bad things are happening, whatever. But when you're talking whiskey, it's just like I've never seen anybody, whatever everybody's making, it's selling. it's you make different expressions that you think would you're doing something. Well, would your rye compete against your bourbon, or would this rye
cannibalizes?
No.
The bourbon drinker, he doesn't say this or this. He says, I'm going to buy both. Or the rye drinker, that's mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it really beautiful. It makes it really beautiful because the market, just like the distillers, is very, very. They're willing to try new things. They're willing to give it second and third tries. They want to collect. I mean, it's one of those things where it's a beautiful business to be in. It's beautiful. So,
yeah, it's just put it this way. Not that it matters, but I've seen a lot of people, and there's a lot of people, and how I just want to make as many friends as I can. So I just, you have this motivation for me to get to Iowa, to meet you face to face.
I want to come to Iowa.
Yeah. It's just like, that's just what we love about the industry,
Man, let's set a time. What's perfect is let's set a time this summer and get y'all up here. Seriously. I mean,
oh my God, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, seriously. And I'll take y'all on a tour.
Right. And we'd like we'd do a podcast or a Facebook Live right from your establishment. And that would just be
with it.
That would kill it. That would be really great.
Have the still running in the background. I'm with it.
You got it. You got it.
That would be fun.
Oh yeah, we want to taste the white dog as it comes off there. We want to taste the mash too. We like doing that. We like.
I would love that. I would love that. I would love that.
Yep.
Do you still every once in a while have a desire to make a Captain Crunch mash?
Every now, you know what's funny? Every now and then I'll get a inkling to grab a bunch of cereal. I don't know. That was I discovered that weird shit in college. It's like, let me grab a bunch of cereal and make some. My favorite is Honey Nut Cheerios.
That's like a single. You're talking
funny.
about oats,
I eat
which is
Honey Nut
almost like a
Cheerios
single
almost
malt,
every
you know?
morning when I don't eat oatmeal. But when I was a kid growing up, Captain Crunch was my favorite cereal.
Man, you take some Captain Crunch, you take some, like, because I like to put strawberries in my Frosted Flakes. So I used to make this Frosted Flake mash and put strawberries in the thump. Oh man, so delicious. It's like creating that bowl of cereal liquor. I loved it.
It's really good, actually.
So I've done a bunch of different weird stuff alone that is probably way too expensive to actually like come to market with, like kiwi brandies and starfruit brandies, and I've taken a number of things.
The one thing, Alan Bishop from the Spirit of French Lick, he does a lot of brandy, and he basically is just into the distilling history of Indiana. And if you search the distilling history, there's a lot of stuff that was being distilled back then where nobody even thinks of distilling it anymore. That it's like pears. You're taking pears.
Well,
there's so much different things that they can do.
It's a brandy,
Right. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like you said, it's an art that was there and was lost. At one point, the big thing came in, then prohibition, and it just all got lost. And it's like, but if you really dig, you can find it again.
Yeah.
Building pyramids is a lost art too, but you can't drink a pyramid. So let's stay with the alcohol.
Totally. No, y'all hit it spot on. It's one of those things, especially the art of small batch, like that honed in. We have a limited amount, and it's like that's something that as a company we really want to accentuate. Is really show off that our small batch abilities are superior to. Like, I actually am proud of my distillation skills as a distiller, the same way I am as an MC. I like to compete. I would love to. So that's why even going on moonshine is fun. It's like, yeah, let's set up our stills next to each other and see who can make the best shine at the end of this. Like, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
that had to be that had to be a fun experience, really. I mean, from everything I see. We when we went down to Indiana in December, we met Kelly, and she just was on the last episode, and wonderful girl. And just to see her there, see how you get everything and everybody interact, and you guys doing your thing, it's just fantastic. It's a great show.
Yeah,
I mean, I understand it's a show, you know what I mean? They've done a really good job with bringing that to the general public to make people understand that moonshining and the history and everything. And then the Master Distiller series is kind of, I think it's way better than the Masked Singer, because that's just, that's just way the hell out there. But this and bringing in these people.
This is alcohol, man. I mean, that's like when Jeff when Tiny wanted us to go to the first Bourbon Fest that we attended, which was in 2019, it was like my wife was ambivalent about whether she wanted to go. And I said, honey, you've been to boring places that didn't serve alcohol. How bad can this be? And of course we had the time of our lives. It was wonderful, but I mean, it's just a great industry to be in.
Yeah.
At the time, you're picking the right time, and you're also picking the time where people are looking for, even just a few short years ago, people weren't, you'd be on social media and someone would talk about a finished bourbon, and the social media would blow up and tell that person that they don't know what they're talking about. Right. And they're so much better because they just drink straight, but since that, it's just like there's so many finished bourbons out there, and everybody seems to be so much more acceptance, they're not looking for consistency as much anymore. They're looking for that unique, really good flavored, whiskey.
And as we were schooled by Fred No, and him echoing the words of his dad Booker, the best way to drink bourbon is how you want to drink it.
Any way you want.
Yeah. That's the key. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever works for you is whatever makes you happy.
And that's the best way to drink it. So you got it.
Yeah. So now when you do a concert and you've got the Burn the Boats there and you've got that all, do you just sell out like crazy because everybody's just like freaking out?
I mean, it's really fly. Yeah. I've actually gotten to the point now where and of course COVID kind of slowed some of this down, but I got to test run it. But yeah, I mean, what's fly is like Hy-Vee, for instance, has their stores are basically like Targets now, and so they have actual bars in their stores that hold 200-300 people. I've done shows in grocery stores where they maybe brought in 10 cases and there's 200 people and we sell out in 20 minutes. And then it's back orders of like, it's been incredible. I mean, doing a show at a bar or a venue and the specialty drink of the night is made exclusively with your liquors. It's an energy to it. It's an energy in the room.
It's funny you tell that story. We were together. We were down, where we're at in Canton, south of us in Sugar Creek is Amish country, basically. We were down there to go to some of the wineries, and this is like 6 or 7 years ago. This is before we were drinking bourbon and scotch and other things, but we really weren't into it the way we were. So we go down there. The ladies like to go down, buy some cheese, buy some candies, eat somewhere. There's some great Amish restaurants down there. Mm-hmm. We stop at this grocery store in Millersburg. It's a little mom and pop store called Heine's. Walk in the door. There's two guys standing in the back. It looked like 2/3 of ZZ Top is what it looked like. And these guys are knocking down Hey Joe and crushing it. Okay. Wow. And then they just finished that up and we decided to sample some and they fire up Watchtower. And that singer, I'm telling you, I'm not going to say he sounded exactly like Hendrix, but he sounded great. And I mean, It's like, you've got to be kidding me. In the heart of Amish country, I'm pounding some alcohol down, listening to Watchtower. It's like, take me now, God. It doesn't get any better than this. Well, I mean, it was fantastic. So I get your drift, what you're saying about doing a show like that. And then if you're doing a show where you're doing music and by the way, this is what I produce. That's got to be
it works.
Yeah,
it works. Yeah.
So when we come down, that's the best. It's just like we get fucked up on your alcohol while we watch you perform, right?
That sounds like a plan. Actually, maybe what's fly is y'all come down this summer. If y'all we should definitely play. I'm dropping a new album this summer with the 12-inch vinyl, and I got an NFT music video I'm gonna put out with it too. That'd be fly. Have y'all set up in the venue. It's probably be a 700-person venue or something, just to give me that room to be able to sell it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
It would even be cool to help you promote it. I mean, if we were there, we right before do a podcast,
do a short podcast, or even do a Facebook Live real quick, and
then do the live.
Here's what's going on. We're where it's at. Where are you?
That'd be dope. Yeah. No, I'm with it.
All right.
And we got to do it because we're talking about it live on air too. So it's one of the things they got to, so.
Yeah. Once you say, and we usually, it's not, you're not too far away. It should be.
This is exciting.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all taking the time to even let me tell a story. I know how.
Oh my God. Let me set you straight, Markaus. We know, and I've said this before, and I try to express our appreciation in your position with what you got going on. You're a musician and a mixer and a recorder, and you're a distiller. And in your spare time, you're a real estate developer. we realized that probably tonight you weren't sitting around twiddling your thumbs saying, oh gosh, what am I going to do? You decided to take your precious time and spend it with us. And for that, we're the ones that are grateful. We really appreciate it. And this has been a ton of fun, man.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love talking to people in the industry who love the industry, have a love of, y'all aren't just people that are just like reporting on a story. Y'all care about the spirits industry and care about, and that is massive. And I mean that you all are needed. Anytime y'all want to talk to me and I can harass y'all with sending y'all some new liquor, hey, don't even get me started.
Well,
I'll drown y'all if you let me.
Before the next time we talk, we're going to listen to your music and we're going to sample your liquor. And then we're going to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what, this is going to be just phenomenal.
Perfect.
Thanks, man. Perfect. Really,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can promote, you got a promotion you can do? Just promote yourself right now before we go.
Yeah. I would head over to, if you're interested in buying a bottle, we ship nationwide. It's hit you in maybe about 3 business days. I'd go to shop.xavier.com. We ship nationwide. If not, head to your local Hy-Vee or Fairway if you're in the Midwest. Tune into Discovery Channel probably mid-April to catch me on there. And be on the lookout for new products. Shout out to all the distributors and store chains we're in negotiation with, and shouts to everybody. My new album's on the way. Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So that's shop.xavier.com, did you say?
Yep.
Okay, let's make sure we put that in the notes of the podcast.
Sure.
We get that. Yeah.
We'll put a link.
Yep.
We'll put
Absolutely.
a link. All right. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Can't thank you.
Yeah,
enough,
I appreciate
man.
y'all.
All right.
Likewise.
It's been great, everybody. Remember, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We do this often. www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Check us out on all the major podcast formats and catch us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Join our Facebook group, the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and know that we have meetings. We have a meeting coming up on April 22nd at the Barrel Room Plus. I'm so excited that we are going to be doing our first ever Scotchy Bourbon Boys barrel pick June 9th at Knob Creek, and Sandy No will be part of our picking committee. So hopefully Freddie will show up to pick with his mom. And with that, remember everybody, good bourbon equals good times and good friends, and go out there and live your life dangerously.
Thanks for joining us, folks.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
All right.
Okay.
So
that kicked ass.
Yeah, we're still live on YouTube. So not live, but we're still going on YouTube. I'm gonna quick do a little things and start saving. I always find if I do this quickly, then I don't screw up and lose the whole thing.
So what he's saying, Markaus, is you're still being recorded, so only talk about alleged things.
Yeah, no, alleged. I know even on there was like I had to think about it. It's like this is still Iowa. They are not. I'll tell you, they are not bullshitting around here with versus in Tennessee. Like I came back from Tennessee and like every other house had a still. It was like everybody's fucking moonshining down here, and so we were in Sevierville, Tennessee for the show. Yeah. So
yeah, they take it seriously.
Yeah.
All right, saving there. That's good.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but that's probably why so many people like I said, we covered that. It's just like Iowa isn't synonymous with distilling as far as the general public, and they're trying, but at the same time, there's no reason why what you're doing and the distillers there with work like distilling is exactly, you understand it because you understand music and you understand the art form, and then you were trained by somebody who wanted to show you how to do it right, so now you know how to do it right. I mean, how much time do you spend with them from time to time now, or is that just pretty much a little bit separate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty constant relationship.
Well, that's now, is your mom still live in Iowa?
No, so she actually retired down to Florida,
Like my
Boca Raton area.
Oh,
yeah,
good for
that's
her.
Like,
my sister lives in the Boca Raton area, and then my mom and dad now moved from California to Boynton Beach.
Boynton Beach, yeah, Boynton, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's just south of that, just south.
Yeah.
I'm
going to be heading down there, not this weekend, but for the following weekend. I'm leaving for a week to go down there and hang out in Florida.
Go to City Place in West Palm Beach. Go to City Place, take the little trolley, ride it around. It's really pretty out there. It's some dope.
Any good distilleries down there that you know of? That's what I'm looking for.
I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of. I don't know. Florida and distillation, like I don't know.
Well, Florida and distillation, you would think, but everybody seems to go to Florida for their like the distillers all end up down in Florida partying. The one place that I really want to go to, I'm going to go to the Keys, and it's the Key West.
That rum distillery.
Well, absinthe, yeah. But I want to visit there, and there's a couple rum distilleries down there that I want to check out. So I'm kind of excited.
I've never actually tried absinthe, which is weird, but I need to. It's like a different experience. I know it's.
We get out there this summer at your place. We will be doing some absinthe. We'll score some absinthe.
We'll bring the Neely family
right
absinthe, which they won an award for it. Like they did this barrel, and then they won the award, and they were like questioned whose it was, so they had to send a bottle out there. And
it's the best absinthe you're ever going to taste. And I mean, we've had absinthe that we've paid to have shipped in from France. We've had Swiss absinthe. We've drank, the Prominent American brand, which is fine. But this Neely stuff, it's like it pretty much makes everything else obsolete. It's so good.
Wow.
It is outstanding.
Yeah,
absinthe.
they nailed it.
Yeah,
they nailed it.
Yeah.
But we'll bring it along. If you want. If
that'd be fly. Yeah, I mean, I think June or July be fly. Get y'all out here. July be perfect. Yeah, get y'all out here and
just do a weekend.
Yeah,
that sounds great. All right, man.
Sounds awesome.
For the YouTube,
I will edit out the still thing that you announced, so I'll get that out of the YouTube. But we're gonna stop recording right now.
The Watershed Story. A watershed moment might be pivotal, but it might also be quiet and fleeting. It could be a monumentous occasion, a cause for celebration, an enormous triumph, or a small daily victory. A watershed moment could be a rekindling or an observation or a gathering. Any opportunity to relish with friends and family. It's whatever you choose to cheers to, who you're gathered around, and whatever's worth celebrating. We founded Watershed Distillery on the principles of community in 2010. We wanted to live in, work in, and contribute to the community in which we grew up. We aimed to create spirits and stood apart in quality and character. Along the way, we set out to form a community of our own, one that could gather together to savor, celebrate, and enjoy good spirits and company. We've grown from a tiny little still and 2 guys in jumpsuits to a dedicated team of over 40 people and 2 much larger stills. If you're ever in the area, stop by so we can introduce you to our team and pour you some of our award-winning bourbon.
Creating it was our watershed moment, but we want to hear about yours.